Produced by Victoire. Masters of Wrestling gives a special thanks to the EWF and Mr. Jesse Hernandez. Hello, seekers of truth, and welcome back to another episode of Power and Glory, the podcast. I'm one of your co-stars, the Master, Emir, along with my co-stars. First, ladies and gentlemen, he is a former WWE and WCW superstar, a former WCW Tag Team Champion. In fact, he is Mr. Pretty Paul Roma.
Well, thank you, as always, to that introduction. You know what? I got all this inside of me right now. I'm really excited about this show. Really excited. You know, we have one hell of a guest coming on, and I can't wait for you to introduce him.
Yep.
Also, and never overstepping the one and only, and you may move forward from there. We all know who I'm talking about.
We know who you're talking about, and it is a sheer miracle, ladies and gentlemen, that he is here with us today on time. Because he is a bit of a celebrity-minded individual these days, you know, making cheesecakes for some of the, you know, affluent of the world, rejecting the barefoot Contessa more recently. Ladies and gentlemen, he is also a former WWE superstar. He is Mr. Mario Mancini. What the heck is that, Mario? What are you doing? What are you eating? What is he eating, Paul?
It better not be cheesecake.
It looks like paper. What the
That's
heck?
a blue corn chip.
A blue corn chip? You made that out, Chris?
A blue corn chip.
He nailed it. He nailed it.
Wow, that was impressive.
I know my nachos. Organic on top of that. Nice.
Before we introduce you, Chris, before we introduce our special guest, Paul, what would you ask of our viewers to do before we begin?
Well, listen, if they do it now, they don't have to do it later, and we don't have to keep reminding them. But they have to hit. They got a PowerPlex, that subscribe button. That's all we ask.
That's
and
right.
Then just open up your ears, keep your mouth shut, and listen. Unless you have a question, and then you can send that in.
That's right. PowerPlex, that subscribe button. Hit the likes and share with your friends and family. And now for our special guest, ladies and gentlemen, he is from the band DOKKEN, and he is the bassist for DOKKEN. He is Mr. Chris McCarvill. Chris, welcome to Power and Glory.
Thank you, guys. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
Great to have you on, Chris.
I know nothing about wrestling, so you guys are going to be educating me live.
Well, you're going to be educating us too, because we know very little about the world of rock and roll and music. You know that very, very well, of course, but we are all fans. Paul, you're a fan?
I'm a fan.
Mario, you're a fan?
Are you kidding me, man?
I'm
DOKKEN, Rat, Aldo Nova, Motley Crue. I mean, listen, I'm an 80s guy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I'm an 80s guy all the way. If you know what I mean.
Hey, Mario.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey.
All right.
This ain't that show.
Yeah. so
that's what happens when you get on so many shows like Mancini does. He doesn't know which one he's on.
Oh yeah,
I know. He's in such demand, Chris. This guy, we have to watch him.
Yeah, this is
you
like
have to watch
a rock
me
and
because
roll show.
I'm a little loopy because I didn't have a lot of sleep, so I you don't know what's going to come out of my mouth this week.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of lack of sleep, Chris, I'm sure you know all about that. Living the rock and roll lifestyle. Come on.
Yeah, we run into that sometimes. It's the travel part of it is, I'm sure you guys deal with this too if you're not at your house, but it's
champions. They're not born in the gym. It starts from the inside and it works its way out. Do you feel it more difficult to obtain muscle? Are you tired or perhaps depressed? Then there's a solution. Our brand new partner and sponsor, Care Aesthetics of La Quinta, are here to help you get restored to optimal health. Just use the contact information in this video and schedule your free consultation. Be sure to mention the name of the podcast, whether that be Power and Glory, Styling, Masterclass, or Hey Roma, when doing so. We wish you all the best in your road to optimized health. And now, back to the show.
Travel part of it is, I'm sure you guys deal with this too if you're not at your house, but it's sort of for us, mostly we do weekends. It's not like these big long tours so much anymore. We'll fly out, we'll do the first show, and then we have to, wake up really early in the morning and then fly 2 times and then sound check. And then you don't really catch up until you're back. I mean, it's sort of, you're moving a lot.
Yeah. Now, Chris, obviously you came into the band later on. Obviously, you're the youngest band member, correct, Chris?
Yeah, I'm the face. No, I'm kidding.
Don't let him hear you say that.
Most people go like, if you're the face, I'm sorry for your band.
That's not right.
So, but you grew up, watching these guys, listening to this. I mean, like,
Yeah.
is this kind of like a dream come true for you when you got called up to be in Dokken?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal because like a lot of my friends had Dokken t-shirts in high school, and we all knew who they were. We grew up with it. It's like that's so. Long story short, I moved to Los Angeles when I was 17. I'm from Connecticut. I now live back in Connecticut, but I moved out there and I went to a music school out there and worked really, really hard. And it was 18th Street gang, Bloods and Crips. It was late 80s in Los Angeles. I lived in a terrible neighborhood. It was like, it's just the worst of the worst. And it was like, I just kept in my apartment. I played bass like 12 hours a day I was out there for years. So it's like, I did the Steve Martin thing. I tried to adopt that attitude of be so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
And then what's really funny about it is I've always done graphic art and stuff through my life. And the way I got into Dokken was I was doing a website for a guy named Jim Paytas, and he was partners with the guitar player at Dokken. The guitar player at Dokken is named John Levin. He's an attorney in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing some business stuff, and we just kind of connected, and everyone's fans of music. And so it actually wasn't through music that originally introduced me to Dokken, but obviously I kind of had to know what I was doing once they needed me.
Yeah. So you had this alternate career path then that you were doing until you got to Dokken, or were you playing in bands? Were you able to support yourself?
No, I really I don't know if I call it alternative. I definitely gave it a really long shake. Like my wife Leah, she really supported me through years of me blowing all of our money on music. Like I just kept trying and trying, and it was like nothing was working. And I was terrible with money. I maxed all our credit cards out. I basically like ruined us. She saved our ass basically like the whole time. So eventually I kind of went like, okay, I'm not making money at this. I can't keep doing this. I ended up doing cover bands. And then I was working at a screen printing place, which is screen printing is how they make t-shirts and hoodies and that kind of stuff at the same time. So I was doing I did that for years. I would go out, I did studio work because you could do studio work then. It's a long time ago. I played in a lot of different bands over the years and stuff. Nothing major, but just, for me, it was a big deal. I got to play with Graham Bonnet when I was really young. They're just a lot of the 80s guys that are kind of I shouldn't say on the periphery, but on the periphery of what I knew about.
Yeah.
So, what ended up happening is the screen printing place went under, and my friend Tina from there, her and I started our own place out of the ashes of that. I was actually already part-time playing with Dokken at that point. Like I didn't just join the band. I started touring with them in 2008.
Okay.
And then they got Sean McNabb in there for a while, and then I did a couple gigs, and then I got someone else. And then I've been full-time since 2015. So I've been in there 10 years.
Yeah, that's a long
time. So now I'm a business owner and I'm in Dokken. So that's where I've ended up with both things going. Like I'm a co-owner.
Yeah.
Here's a question that I'm sure a lot of our viewers want to know. Who did you, when you're growing up, whether it was before, during, what band did you follow? Like me, I was a big Led Zeppelin fan.
No, that's awesome.
I grew up with Zeppelin.
Okay. Like I grew up with early MTV because that's my age. That's what we had for music,
right.
Which was new wave. It wasn't really rock music. So I was really drawn to bass, and I don't exactly know why. I just know I was.
Yeah.
And bass at that time, like the only way I could get music, I didn't have any money, was holding up my tape recorder to the TV set and recording things off of MTV. And my aunt gave me a little toy acoustic guitar, and I took the high strings off and I tuned it low, and I tried to learn all the bass parts. Come to find out, all of that stuff was keyboard. It wasn't bass. It was, but it's really, really hard to play that stuff on bass. But since I didn't know any better, I got good.
Right. You reinvented the keyboard.
Well, it's just from ignorance, I guess, or not knowing any. I didn't see the obstacle, so I went through it. That's kind of the
yeah. Now, new wave,
a certain style, and then I just applied that. I got asked to play rock music because I tried to grow my hair out. Because when I was in LA, that's the late '80s. It was pre-grunge, so your only currency was your look. It didn't matter if you could play or not. Then it mattered what you looked like.
Yeah.
So I auditioned for tons of bands, and they're like, "We love you. You play great. You sing great. You look great, but you have to get hair extensions." I'm like, I can't afford a car. I can't So I've grown my hair out, and then because of that, I get asked to play metal. So I'm like, okay, I can. It's not my favorite thing, but applying the keyboard mentality to playing metal, that seems to be a combination that gets me a lot of work.
Yeah, that's so fascinating to me because, again, to look at you, you think, rock, metal, stuff like that. I would never have considered new wave. So you're talking about like New Order and things like that, right? That kind of music.
It's probably. I'm trying to think. There was, I'm like 9 years old at the time, so I heard Frankie Goes to Hollywood, which I had no idea what it was about. I just heard this bass, and I'm like, that's awesome. I love that. And there's a couple things like that had that loud synth bass. I think there's like a Stevie Nicks tune.
Yeah.
Stand Back had that. There's a movie about bicycle messengers called Quicksilver, where Roger Daltrey sang the theme song to it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he hates it. I'm sure it's like the worst thing he's ever done. I'm a kid. I have no idea what I'm hearing, but it had this crazy fast keyboard bassing. I'm like, I have to learn how to do that. Yeah. So I don't know. I got hooked on that. I kept chasing that sound.
Yeah.
So, and what I found was a lot of the music I liked wasn't the same band. It was the same producer.
Got it. Okay.
I didn't understand that until much later. Like I was hearing the production. It wasn't just the music. Like the Led Zeppelin stuff, like I got way into the Who. Like I'm kind of a Who guy, like, obviously. But Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, that stuff at the time didn't sound, the sound quality of it wasn't like, it didn't sound modern to me. So I didn't like it at first because I'm a kid. I don't know. Once I went to music school and I understood, okay, listen to what it's saying and what the material is, then I got a much greater appreciation for that stuff. Like I just,
Yeah. Now I'm gonna bring Mario in right here. Mario, tell us some of your favorite bands here before we go back to Chris here. Who were you listening to back in the 80s?
Okay, but Amir, you're the odd man out. All three of us are from Connecticut, and you're not.
Yeah, you know what? You're lucky. You're blessed. There you go. I mean, okay.
For me, MTV, I was 15 years old when MTV came out. The first video that debuted on MTV was from the Buggles. It was called Video Killed the Radio Star.
Oh, yeah.
So I was into, by 1982, when I saw the Flock of Seagulls, I was like, wow. I actually went to go see the Flock of Seagulls.
Didn't you get your hair cut like that?
No, yeah, one time I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the night Hogan walked by me and went, Eminem, what the hell did you do to your head? So I went to Platt Tech in Milford, and one of my best friends
you
still
kidding
is.
Me? I'm from Milford. I live right around the corner from Platt Tech.
I grew up in Milford. My brother still lives in Milford on Loomis Street in Devon.
I used to live on Eastern Parkway.
Yeah. So
crazy.
I'm still good friends with her, and I went to her when I was wrestling. She would cut my hair, and she said, "Close your eyes. I got a surprise for you." I went, "All right." And when she was done with my hair, she had put arrows in the side of my head. And the next day I had TV taping. And Strongbow was like, "What you do to your head?" Anyway, um, yeah, it really it was innovative. Like there's a song that Roma and I have. I know it sounds kind of metro sexual, but Roma and I have a couple songs. So one of them is Take on Me by Aha, and the way they did that video was very innovative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, with the cartoon thing and everything.
Yeah.
I was pretty much glued. My mother was glued. Now I want you to this is a real funny story. The Talking Heads came on.
Yeah.
Letting the days go by, and my mother would run into the living room and she would do it with him. She'd go, she loved when he went like this.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother would be doing that. So I'm a ballad kind of guy. I liked, Chicago and guys like that. And, unfortunately my number one guy, Michael Bolton, is not doing well.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to meet him twice, but he's not with the brain cancer, he's not doing that well. So but yeah, I mean, watching all those videos, I was glued to the TV. You got to know, they showed before the commercial, they showed what was coming up. So if the 3 or 4 videos they previewed coming up you weren't interested in, you went and got yourself whatever, or went or talked to a friend or whatever, but then you would see what's coming up and you're like, wow, and you would be glued to the TV. So it's like I like hearing the stories now about like Journey. They released Separate Ways and they were doing it in a concert, and they were in town to do a concert. I forgot where they were, but they're like, "Hey guys, you guys have no video. You have no video for this song." So they went to a dock and did this. Half the video is them doing air. Yeah. Yeah, doing air instruments, and they're embarrassed about it now in 2025, but then, you know what I mean? So it really and you had Michael Jackson's Thriller, that was huge, premiering on Halloween night. It was premiering on Halloween at 8 o'clock, and
that album was #1. Forget it.
Yeah,
no one could touch it.
It's hard. I got to stay away from it, because if I let myself drift back to the 80s for an extended period of time, I'll just fall into a really deep depression. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
The decade of the 80s was as close of the decade of the 50s that this world is ever going to see again. They'll never see it again. Because in the 50s, they had the hair, they had the clothes, they had Elvis. In the 80s, they had the hair, they had the clothes, they had Madonna. You know what I mean? It was so similar to the 50s, and what's going on today with the fentanyl and all, the school shootings, and we got in really big trouble for doing things back in the 80s that seem so trivial now compared to what they're doing today.
Yeah.
So, the decade of the 80s it was just, MTV revolutionized, a lot of things. And then, so big, Roma, I'm sure you met Alan Hunter, when it came to the Rock and Wrestling Connection, when Cyndi Lauper got involved with her husband with WrestleMania and everything. And MTV would cover the WWF, and fortunately Roma and I were there to see the whole thing unravel. We were also there to see SD Jones get the last laugh on Cyndi Lauper.
I don't know what that means. I love Cyndi Lauper, but I just don't know wrestling.
Well, here, Chris, here's the deal. Cyndi would come down anytime she wanted. to the dressing. Sometimes guys were dressed, sometimes they weren't. So they'd have to cover right away.
Yeah, it's not a good recipe.
Nope.
Yeah. So our dear friend Roma and I, one of our dearest friends, SD Jones, looked at me and said, "Boss man, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it, boss man. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it, boss." I said, "Yeah, SD." SD was very gifted. God was good to him, overly good to him. So Cindy Lauper comes down right in front of SD. SD dropped the towel. Yeah, it's like Mr. Snuffleupagus came out. And she just jumped and turned around. And I guess she won't be coming down here unannounced anymore. So but you know, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I met Mr. T, I met Joe Piscopo. I met Joe Piscopo. I don't even know if he knew where he was. He didn't even look me in the eye when I shook his hand. He was like he was out of it, man. Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito, and you know, we met a lot of people during that rock and wrestling connection there. But it was like it was a lot of fun. But you know, I as you guys know, I got offered to go on Don't Forget the Lyrics from the executive producer to go on that show. And because she saw me on TikTok being the singing wrestler.
Oh, hold on before we continue, Mario, because Chris doesn't know. So, Chris, lately Mario has been somewhat of a sensation on TikTok now.
Yeah,
He's
for the past 2 years, I've been the singing wrestler. So
yeah, the singing wrestler. Okay,
right. So she sees me knocking out all these songs, and obviously I don't have a sheet in front of me. I mean, I know all these lyrics, and she's like, "We want you to come on. We want you to audition for the show." And she goes, "You have to get through auditions. You know, you have to try out for it." And she goes, "I'm sure you'll make it to the final and go on TV." And I'm like, "Great, where are you filming?" She's like, "Ireland." And I'm like, "Can you let me know when you're in New York or LA?" I'm still waiting for her to let me know. I'm still waiting. You know, Maurice got upset. "Oh, you could have came to Ireland." But, you know, I'm like, what the people didn't know is you had to get yourself there. So you had to get yourself there. So I'm like, when you're in LA or New York, let me know. I'll come and try out for the show. But the thing is I'm only, so Chris understands, I'm only good for like $100,000 because I know zero music of the past 20 years or 15. I know nothing. If they go, if a category is like Nicki Minaj, I'm like, I'm screwed. I don't know one lyric from you know what I mean? I am from the 60s only because I had brothers 12 years older and 13 years older than me. I am from that era in the 70s. Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. I know practically all their songs. A lot of Kenny Rogers, almost, I mean, half the Elvis. My brother still thinks he's Elvis. He went to Graceland. He got to the gravesite. His son had to hold him up. He was going to go down. He was so upset. So I know a lot. I know a lot of Elvis, and I know a lot of 70s. I know a tremendous amount of 80s. You know, a little bit of 90s, and then after that, I'm dead. So I would need that. You get to bring a person with you to help you if you get stuck. I would need somebody very current because I have, you know, unless they put Baby Got Back up there, I can do that. You know what I mean? But I don't.
Well, honestly, I don't think you're alone in that problem. And not that it's a problem. It's just that music has diversified so much since the early 2000s, late 90s that it's literally it's like if you look at the charts, most bands don't even know each other, or most artists don't know who the other ones are because they're famous to their crowd. There's just so like everything's crowdsourced now. So there's no authority. There's no record labels that are bigger than, well, there is kind of at the top, but it's not like it was, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Right,
getting
Chris,
curated.
I want to ask you a question. It may be a silly question, but I think it's there's some relevance to it.
Yeah, this is real. I know.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. We'll get to the hair. We'll get to the hair.
So, did you enjoy the being in front of the crowd as opposed to, well, I'm going to go out there and there's 50,000 people or 100,000 people or whatever the case may be? Was it that mindset that we're going to rock these people, or was it, oh, I'm going to make a killing tonight financially?
I haven't really ever done music just for money.
Okay.
It's not necessarily,
it's for the pleasure, right? I mean, getting people.
It's like I said, like I've always, I'm trying to think of how to explain it. It's like I've dedicated very much to music. I haven't been able to turn it into a career that I make tons of money at. So I've lived like my main income is mainly the shop, like the screen printing stuff. I've done that for almost 35, 40 years now or something.
Oh my God, Roma, I'm looking to make new t-shirts for the wrestling school.
Yeah, hey.
There we go. Right around the corner. There you go.
How could I not go to them?
That's it.
But that's the kind of thing that's kind of allowed me the flexibility to pursue things that I like about music. So that means if like I play with Dokken, I also could play with probably a lot of other acts that I've turned down or whatever, because Don's been really good to me over the years. He really has. And he's the kind of artist that like getting to know him, it's a really long story. I'm sorry. And I'm terrible, but it's like getting to know him has made me realize how real his lyrics are. They're not writing, to make money. He is his lyrics. It is exactly him 100%. Like it's real. And I can get behind that. Like that's something I feel like really good about. Like that's what makes me feel like going out and kind of helping express that, because it's real. It's not a, it's just not fake. It's not a thing to make money. It's like this dude really believes this and feels this and has lived that. And it's like, I want to support that, and it's like, so when we go out, what's nice is, and maybe you guys deal with this with tag team wrestling, is like, I know I can trust my team that it's just going to destroy the place. It's like,
that makes sense.
So and the reason I asked that is because, I've been in quite a few tag teams and I've had them say to me, look at, poke their heads through the curtain, look at the house, and there's thousands and thousands of fans out there, and they'll be like, oh, it is going to be a great payday. Whereas, I didn't look at it that way. It didn't cross my mind. When I got my paycheck, I was surprised at what I got. And it fluctuated, not that much, but it did. Other than pay-per-views, it was totally different. But, and I had a reason why I was out there. I was, trying to become a role model for kids. But my thing was to put on that show and please those people to further my notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like I said, that's why I asked that question, because I had others that would say, oh, there's going to be look at the house. Oh man, it's going to be a great payday. And I was like, okay, yeah, hey, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, if you run into a great payday, awesome. I mean, that doesn't suck. That's great.
Right.
But it's sort of like, I think people can tell what you're, you know what I mean? They can tell if you mean it or not. I just feel like that. I mean, I feel like I can tell that. So
I believe that.
Why couldn't someone out there,
Yeah, yeah.
And,
I believe that.
And it's funny you mentioned this, guys, because I just did another show earlier and we were talking about the exact same thing. We were talking about passion, right? And Mario, you're talking about the 50s and the 80s and what was different. We're talking about music now. Chris, you and I talked off camera about that. I said to you, well, I just don't think modern music, like you said, there's no definitive top charts. It seems like everything's scattered, but
Well, I
there's
mean,
not.
there's Taylor Swift. Yes, there's huge artists, of course.
Yeah.
That's always been there, but as it's definitely more crowdsourced. Yeah, I'm sorry, make your point.
No, 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 no. Crowdsourced. No, so the point was passion. So when you go back and you dial back to Dokken, you think of Metallica, Led Zeppelin, Def Leppard, Madonna, Michael Jackson. When you used to listen to these songs, and maybe it was the fact that they had music videos to accompany that because we had MTV. MTV was where we found all this stuff, right? And now that's
That was
kind of,
huge.
yeah, now MTV's, I don't even know if, does it still exist, MTV?
I think it does.
But it's
Yeah,
like
but
They have
I
a
don't think
channel.
it's
They have a channel, Classic MTV.
Okay.
right. I was gonna
They
say I
have a
don't think
classic
they
MTV.
make
You,
music
you know what
videos.
always amazed that I had a tremendous respect for, because my brain works differently. Like the last concert I went to was Toto and Journey.
Okay.
And you know,
Twitter.
back in the day, like if Chris was on, like, hey, we have like 15 dates in a row, or like, Roma on the road for like, 25 days. What people need to realize is you're put with a wrestler, or Roma's put with a tag team. And that's the tour. You know what I mean? Up the East Coast or the West Coast. And basically, surprise, surprise, fans, unless you're willing to drive 250 miles, it's the same match as the night before. You know what I mean? But the wrestlers, if they wanted to, they could say, listen, let's change things up tonight. Let's create another match. This is kind of stale. I feel like doing something different. Let's do these guys. These guys that do the concerts, they can't do that. So I'm watching Journey and I'm watching Toto, and I'm like, you know what amazes me about these guys, Amir?
Mm.
They go out there and they perform like it's the first day of their tour and it's the first time they're doing the show.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what kind of effort these guys put into it.
yeah.
They can go out there and go, oh my God, this is the 167th time in 3 months I've played the song. And it could show. They could be like, but they
Yeah.
don't.
Right.
They're like, hey, you know what I mean? They bring it.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing every night.
Yeah.
So
Over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but listen, you brought something up. You talked about, back in the, say, the 50s and now up to the 90s. What I see from it all is this. All the music of our era, and I say our era because, is being replayed by the younger generation.
Mhm.
The new stuff is just, and not all of it,
Mhm.
but it's a lot of garbage.
Mhm.
I mean, why is it that all this older music in our era is still around,
Mhm.
and people love it still, as opposed to this new stuff that is like fly by night? I mean,
Mhm.
that's just what I get from it all.
Yeah.
We can listen to all that.
I'm gonna argue with you a little bit on that. My son is an avid music listener, and he's 23, very, very avid music listener. I get overwhelmed. Like if I go on Spotify, if I go on YouTube Music, that kind of thing, there's so much stuff that I don't even know where to start. It's like there's so much to listen to. And my son's friend said, no, there's so much you get to listen to. And I think something that happens is that when we're younger, like I know I did this myself, I reached out to music because that's your first stab at independence. It's like that's the first thing you do that's kind of outside your parents' control. It's like an artistic move to listen to your own music.
Yeah.
So what happens when you get older, I think you stop reaching out and expect the music to reach you.
Mm.
So in other words, the amount of variety that's out there right now is like never been this much variety available to all of us. We all have whatever platform you use. You can listen to anything. All you got to do is reach out. Honestly, like you'd be surprised at how good stuff is if you look for it.
Could it be that? And Paul, to your point, and Chris, could it be that? Because obviously, if we go back to the 80s, we knew where to find, like I said, a Dokken, Metallica, Michael Jackson. They were they were branded very, very well. And we didn't have we had a big amount to choose from, but not the smorgasbord that we have today. It was funneled directly to us.
Yeah,
And
what you're
so,
talking about is a music infrastructure.
yeah,
That's no longer there.
no,
It's just not there. That model of A&R guys, record labels in that capacity is just when Napster when that happened, it became crowdsourced. It became just a total free for all. It made all that stuff irrelevant because if you can share music,
yeah,
basically that's what Napster did was it created a platform you could share music with your friends and their friends and on and on. It made it so you couldn't make money making records anymore.
Gee.
Completely devalued the music industry as we grew up with it.
So what?
There's no music industry. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So what happened then, Chris? Because again, you're talking to three guys who aren't familiar with that. So then when that happened, what was the switch? Like what would have Dokken had to have done then if they couldn't make the money there anymore? How did you guys adapt? How did you start trying to make money?
Well, I wasn't in it at that time,
Yeah.
but the way bands survived was it like a band like Dokken, for example, was already established.
Right.
So you could do live shows. You could release like I kind of Dokken has a record label right now, and they do much better at promoting and getting it to all the websites and all of the all of that stuff. That's their job. They market to that stuff. Most bands really it's the biggest profit margin bands have is merch.
Okay.
So in other words, we're kind of a t-shirt company that uses concert to promote our t-shirt sales.
There you go.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I bet.
It sounds familiar. Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of in professional wrestling, you're not far away from that,
I imagine it's very similar. I don't know if wrestling had that. I mean, you had WWE, WWF. I don't know all the different things, but essentially record companies were like that. They served that purpose. They kind of were the authority that you knew if you got something from one of those organizations, you could kind of trust that it would be good.
Yeah, that makes
Now, Chris, let me ask you this. Do you do any conventions?
As Dokken, I think Don did one and it went horribly bad. Like he didn't get paid. It was like this whole big mess. I don't remember what happened with it exactly because I actually broke my shoulder really bad in 2019 and stuff. So I was out for half a year or so. And it was during that time, so I wasn't there for it. But they talk about it sometimes, and he's like, I don't think we're gonna do that anymore.
I mean, he had a table, 8x10s, t-shirts, and everything. Yeah. The guy didn't pay him. Sounds familiar. So. It sounds familiar with the wrestlers too, Not Scott Wilder though, not Nine Toe Entertainment. He pays people.
And Mario, really quick, I wanted to tell you brought up Buggles. That was Video Killed the Radio Star. That's the guy that produced Frankie Goes to Hollywood. That's the guy.
Really? I didn't know that.
He was also the singer of Yes for one album called Drama in 1980, and I guess he was he was awful live. He was great, and the Drama album's really good. I like it, but it's like live. I guess he wasn't comfortable. People didn't like it, so he became a producer. He produced 90125 from Yes, that whole thing, and this guy. His name is Trevor Horn, and I've followed all of the stuff that he's done. Like that's one of my favorite artists, and he's the producer. It's like it's so weird, but it's funny how it all comes together.
It's great. That's fantastic.
There's the only music I will not listen to is rap. Okay,
so let me ask.
I can listen to country, rock and
roll.
Hold
on, Chris. You better want
to. I can.
No, it's okay, but I have to ask why. What bothers you about it?
A lot of it's what I've heard, and if you knew the characters that I've hung out with, it's damaging. It's hard. It's
absolutely can be. I agree with you that there are elements of that. However, rap is actually a style of music that has a whole universe to it. That's really positive and really like uplifting and like hip hop. There's a lot. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan or very knowledgeable, but there is wonderful stuff out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure there is. It's in another universe that I won't like to go into.
I have to beg to
That's
differ
fair.
because I am a big fan of the Sugar Hill Gang, and
I'm good
from
friends with
back
Doug.
in the
We're good.
late
I shouldn't say good
'70s.
friends. We're friends. So that's yeah.
Yeah, the Sugar Hill Gang, that was a great rap song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think what Paul's referencing, though, I'll stick up for Paul in this regard here.
Okay.
But I think what he's talking about is the type of rap that's been popularized, the
Well, the
type of
guns, the
yeah,
violence, the
yeah,
Of course.
disrespect to women, stuff.
yeah,
No.
yeah,
Right, right. You know,
Say the
and
same thing
what's
about look at when heavy metal came out.
right,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
so here, let me, this is gonna really, I think, throw you a little bit. I was never a fan of the Rolling Stones.
okay,
Grew up
All
with
right.
them, and my friends would be listening. Like, yeah, nope, not interested. Don't, Yes, I liked Yes. Lover Boy. You know what I mean? It just there was a lot of music, and then I listened to Andrea Bocelli
yeah,
and Celine Dion.
yeah,
Yep.
You know what I mean? I Whitney Houston. I love voices.
yeah,
Yep.
If
I got you.
that's what I like about these different groups, single singers, whatever you want to say. So I have just a vast variety of what I can listen to, but I got turned off growing up in my time when it became violent. All the rap was
Of
just
course.
about shoot 'em up, treat the women like crap, and so on and so forth.
yeah,
And I grew up with some people that were, for lack of a better word, hoodlums.
Yeah.
And that was what they wanted to listen to. And that just wasn't for me. It didn't work for me.
yeah.
Yeah. And
And I
that's
wanted to
totally
hear something
understandable.
that I understood.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
Chris,
mean?
refresh my memory though. Refresh my memory because wasn't Ozzy Osbourne in court because he got accused because kids were committing suicide over his music. It was Ozzy or Alice Cooper. I can't remember who it was, but they were trying to say that the music was so influential that teenagers were taking their own lives. So
Yeah,
it's
well,
not
that's the
only
whole
rap.
CMRC thing, that whole
Yeah.
angle. Like that's why they tried to put the warnings on all the
Yeah. So it's
parental advisory. It all
yeah,
kind of funneled from that.
But I think
yeah.
we can make the comparison with pro wrestling. See, in the late '90s, Chris, wrestling also took a nosedive into that path. They took it in a very R-rated direction. It went
Mhm.
away from the kids. The role models were no longer role models. They were telling people to suck it and all this other nonsense because that was what the narrative of the producers wanted to sell at that particular moment in time. So I think, and going back to your point about heavy metal, there were bands that were very negative. They were, dare I say, satanic. There
Yeah.
were some of them that were very dark, and but you knew those, and then you had your others who were more, yeah, they're just doing rock and roll, and they're singing songs that are in the rock genre. So I think it could be said in both ways. Like, going back to rap, you can have positive rap, or you
Right.
could have the gangster rap. But I think though,
Yeah, and
sorry, Chris.
like Paul, I absolutely understand what you're saying, having spent my late teen years in the from the worst sections of Los Angeles at the time. I mean, I was in it. Like I was literally like a mile from Compton. Like it's about as bad as it gets. I mean, we had the
Yeah.
You're
riots
lucky
where
you
I was
survived.
in it. Well,
Survived, Chris.
there was a lot of us musicians and we stuck together. I mean, honestly, it's a really short aside. Like that was my best Thanksgiving dinner I've ever had. All of us had no money at all. And it's like we all said like, hey, we'll try to do a Thanksgiving dinner. Let's everybody go buy one thing and we'll try to. So I brought like biscuits because they were 35 cents, something like
Yeah.
that. One guy made stuffing, one guy had biscuits, something. And there's like 10 of us kids.
Yeah.
And everybody's from all over the world and stuff. And we just all we're practically in tears. It's like this
Yeah.
outside. I mean, the first week I was there by myself, this guy got executed right outside my window. Like it was just I
Wow.
heard
Wow.
screaming and 5 gunshots and stuff like that. And it's terrible. And yeah, there's a association to rap for me with that personally. I understand that
Yeah.
since it's really has a lot to do with my son because he listens to such a wide range of stuff. He's played me stuff that's really blown my mind, that's changed my mind about a lot of things about music that I just had no idea.
Yeah. Well, music is definitely a gateway, to the soul. It evokes emotions and whatnot. And speaking of that, I wanted to bring up Into the Fire because Into the Fire was, massive hit for Dokken. It was actually used by the NWA, Billy Corgan's National Wrestling Alliance. They've got their TV show Power that airs on a weekly basis, and they used Into the Fire as their opening theme song for their flagship show. This was between like 2019 to 2021. That's
This is
initially
Billy Corrigan, Smashing Pumpkins guy, right? That's who you're talking about? I
correct.
just don't know him in the wrestling sphere. Explain this to me, please.
Yeah, so Billy was a big wrestling fan, massive wrestling fan. So he got into the wrestling business. I think initially he went into Impact Wrestling, TNA, which would have been in like 2010. Paul or Mario, correct me if I'm wrong. It was about the mid 2000s. Billy started getting into wrestling. And then there was the NWA came up for sale, and Billy bought it. And so he's been producing NWA TV for the past 6 years.
Okay.
And yeah, he's a big wrestling fan. He knows all about it. He works with the guys, and yeah, he used Into the Fire as the open. And I remember when I first heard it, and forgive me here because I didn't recognize it at first. All I remember thinking was, wow, that's a great song. I like that song. Right? Okay, I thought Into the Fire. It was so cool. And I was like, who sung this? And then I went down that rabbit hole of discovering Dokken. So, because I'm a little bit younger than you, Chris. And I grew up, I was a
Many
Metallica.
people are.
Well, you don't look it, but anyway. And also, what is the secret for the hair? Before I go any further, how do you get thick hair like that?
It just comes out like this. I'm hanging on for dear life, man.
No special treatments, serums, or anything. Nothing. Just
Don't tell him, Chris.
tell me.
Don't
Tell
him.
me.
There's really, I nothing really works, or I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm glad I got it. I'm not complaining.
I was gonna say you're blessed to have it, man. That is a thick head of hair. But like I was saying, I was into Metallica and all that. So yeah, Into the Fire. So, but my curiosity with Into the Fire is this: has Don ever shared with you what the meaning behind that song was? So explain to our viewers what is the meaning behind Into the Fire?
Okay, what's cool about that question is Don has told this story once on stage. So to me, that means it's fair game.
Okay.
Everybody
So,
listen.
Yep.
well, what he said was like Into the Fire was about he was in a relationship at the time when he wrote it, and he was getting serious about it.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of photos in the past of ladies that he had, had arrangements with.
Mhm.
So apparently this box of photos, it was kind of like his girl was sort of like, okay, either this, you were getting serious, this kind of has to go. So he was literally throwing those pictures into his fireplace.
Okay.
And it's kind of like what he was thinking as he was doing that.
Interesting.
So it's more
interesting.
literal than you realize. That's
Yeah, very interesting. Mario, what are your thoughts on that? I see you pondering.
Listen, my favorite stories in the world. I mean, those are my you think I love wrestling stories. Those are my favorite stories ever. Like, when I first heard that, Killing Me Softly was made because they were listening to Don McLean's American Pie. She's singing about that, him singing that, and her listening to it.
for
Killing Me
experience.
Softly. I mean, I love those stories. I just found out last week that song, I would give everything I own. It sounds like he's talking about a woman. He wrote that song about his father.
Hmm.
And I didn't know that, you know what I mean? Or when you hear Philadelphia Freedom from Elton John. You know, they think he's singing about Philadelphia. He's singing about Billie Jean King, who was on they developed a women's tennis league, and there were couples, and her couples team was called Philadelphia Freedom. So Elton John wrote Bernie Taupin actually wrote a song about Philadelphia Freedom. Those are those are my favorite songs, my favorite stories. The best story, my favorite one of all time, was the Bee Gees living in Miami, and they had to go over a bridge every day to the recording studio.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry Gibb is in the back seat there going over that bridge every day, and every day he's hearing and from that, the tires hitting the bridge, he writes Jive Talking.
Wow.
Great story. Great stories.
Yeah.
I mean, great stories.
Chris, are you a writer yourself of music?
Yes.
Okay. So have you handed anything off that Dokken are going to perform, or are you keeping that close to heart?
Well, no, not I have, yeah. I went down a major, like around the time of COVID, I went down a really big rabbit hole about music in general.
Yeah.
And this is around when Dokken was making a record while I was in it. So I guess what I sent, I don't think I would have chosen it either compared to what was going on. Because I was sort of trying to redefine myself. I'm like, okay, like here's I'm not trying to be totally off subject here, but since I had just gotten Spotify at the time, and I'm used to record stores where I could only afford to go in and buy one CD or one whatever.
Right.
So now I can listen to everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what gives me the most. And I've learned the term for this. It's called frisson. It's when you hear something or you see artwork or something and it causes an experience where you actually like cry or you have some kind of emotional experience from it.
Okay.
It's called frisson.
Frisson.
So I'm looking for that in music. That's at that point. That's what I was doing. So I made a gigantic list of everything that caused that for me, whatever that is. And it's really bizarre where that took me. Like it took me down a lot of Beatles. There was like ELO, there was 10cc, a lot of this like hyper melodic 70s stuff that I was only peripherally aware of growing up. I didn't really whatever, but
yeah.
I'm like, it's some Beach Boys stuff. It was like, I'm like that. There's something going on in there that I have to unlock and figure out. So
Yeah.
it's like around that time, Don's like, all right, send what you got. I'm like, you know, I kind of write all the time. I sort of don't stop. Like
Yeah.
it's a craft and I just enjoy it. So it's like, I'm always going to do it, whether it comes out or not. I'm not that worried because I like the craft of it. So it's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, question for you. So you come up with the words, correct? Right? You write, and my question is, this may be kind of weird. What's harder? Once you have the words, is it putting the music to it? What kind of music you come up with to fit?
Here's what I found, and this is more recently than not, because I've really done a deep dive into songwriting, like as in the last couple years. Like I do have my own band outside of Dokken, and we've done a whole record, and I've written pretty much the majority of it. I've written all the lyrics, and it's to a level that I feel good about.
What's the name of the band, Chris?
That's called Samurai Cab.
Samurai Cab. Okay.
Yes. And we gave away the first album. So it's on YouTube, Spotify, whatever. You can look it up. The whole album's free. Just go listen to it, enjoy it. Okay. So what happened on that was I listened to a bunch of interviews with Lennon and McCartney, and just because they're very big influences on me. And they used to get together with 2 acoustic guitars and write a song. They didn't have tape recorders. They didn't have a way to record it. So they had to come up with something enough that was good enough for them to remember. So instead of just me coming up with a part and like, that's a cool part, record that, I have billions of those. Like my phone's, there's stuff spilling out of my phone like that. Yeah. So this focused me a little more. I went, okay, what if I didn't have that? how could I write something really good that's like that makes me feel something? Like, okay, I feel something from this. Let that dictate where it should go instead of me forcing it, whatever. It's like, okay, I played this. What I found is I have to start singing right away, like when I'm playing something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and I just let that be my guidepost of like, okay, I feel like it should go here. And I have to figure out what here means and what that is and just do it. And then after listening to that a little bit, and this is within the first 15 minutes of writing something, is like, okay, what kind of feeling is this making me feel? What is, like what, broad emotion is coming from this, or what color is this? What's it making me think of? That kind of thing. And I start writing things. It doesn't have to make sense. Stream of consciousness, just write stuff, describing it. And then that seems to be how I write. Like I just keep refining it and refining it, and refining it. And then thinking about, as when I finish for like an evening, which could be 4 hours because I like doing it, I'll go back and listen to the next day and be like, oh, this is good. That's not. This is good. That's not. And then I, narrow it down until I'm left with exactly what's good to me still.
Yeah, it's an incredible gift from God, because as I'm thinking about this, Paul Mario, I'm thinking about like some of the greatest wrestling theme songs of all time. Now, yeah, you're talking about Chris, like these composers that would look at a guy, look at a character, and come up with some of the most amazing theme songs for these guys to walk out to the ring to. Jimmy Hart was fantastic at that, right, Paul? I mean, Jimmy was, and Mario,
He was.
Yeah.
But, listening to Chris talk, it just, I can't wrap my brain around how, he comes up with, just starts playing a tune and he could fit words to that or vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then carry it for, say, 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
To me, it blows my mind.
Well, it's amazing what you guys do too. It's just, honestly, if you were to sit at a piano, and I don't care if you've never even touched a piano before, you play one note, and if you sing something over that note, chances are your head will tell you where to go next.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what my head would tell me? If you heard me play a couple notes and sing, it'd tell me run for a fallout shelter because the house is about to collapse.
I get it.
I went through some of my TikToks today, man. And I was like, oh, how did I post that? How did I think that sounded good at the time? I'm like, I gotta delete this.
I got a good story for you, because I think all musicians, and I'm sure you guys must feel the same way if you see videos of yourself. I screwed that up. I did, like, I get it. That's a normal performing thing. That happens to everybody. I just have one good one. Was on the 2008 tour with DOKKEN. We played Los Angeles. This is Universal Amphitheater. Sebastian Bach was opening for us. Then it was us. Then Poison was going on with Bret Michaels. So this is the biggest tour of the summer. It's ridiculous. There's thousands and thousands of people. Yeah. Universal Amphitheater is like a theater in a round. It's huge. Yeah. So by the time we're there, Don and his girlfriend were fighting, and his daughter was out with him. He was going through all this stuff that's just, I felt so bad for him, and he was cooked. He wasn't really into it, whatever. Yeah. And it gets to be the part of In My Dreams. That's the acapella part. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's just one of the, in this, near the end of the song, the chorus happens where it's just the vocals. Long story short, I'm the only one singing. Like, no one else is. Don's checked out. And it's just me. And of course, I'd had more than one cocktail. So I'm singing and I'm just going for it and stuff. And it gets to this part where it's like, your love is strong. I'm trying to do it, and it goes, your love is strong. 30,000 people. I'm like, thank you.
I've never done that, man.
Yeah. What a feeling, man. What have you guys got? What have you guys got coming up? Just to let the viewers know, what has DOKKEN got coming up, and then what has your band got coming up?
DOKKEN we have a whole bunch of shows this year. I shouldn't say a whole bunch. We have a lot of new ones that we didn't have earlier, so they're new to me. But we're playing actually a show in Connecticut, believe it or not. And we never do that. This is like the first time we're playing Connecticut, I think, ever. And It's basically it's called Jam at the Dam, and I believe the organizers do these big country festivals, and they've decided to diversify and do rock music. So they have Ace Frehley is on it, and Firehouse is on it, Warrant's on it. I
Where is it?
It's in Monroe, Connecticut, of all places.
Really?
I'm like,
Wow.
yeah,
Of
like
all
Don
places.
called me the other day and went, he's like, we're playing Monroe. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Monroe?
There's not even like Monroe's like a little place people retire at. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't
Chris,
think of
it's
it.
a short
Yeah.
ride for you in the Parkway. Don't complain.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not far. So the thing is, like, I'm all psyched. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great. We get to go do this show. I get to, chill out. My friends will be there. That'll be really fun. And the wife and I can go home and go to bed. It's like, this is great. And then they have SeaWorld the next day in Florida. So we play that show. I go home and sleep for, a couple hours. And then I have to get up and grab the drummer. And we have a 7:00 flight to Florida. Sound check is 10 a.m. in Orlando.
Wait, Chris, at least to the bright side, at least you're not doing Monroe and then following up with Trumbull.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, and that's sometimes it's like that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Or you're playing the Klein on Fairfield Avenue in Bridgeport.
Right. Puppet show and Spinal Tap. Right. That's
Darn. Well,
there's just a bunch of shows, and we generally fly out and do weekends. We generally do like theaters. Sometimes it's an outdoor festival, which is really fun. And the first one I did in 2008 really cracked me up because I really didn't know what to expect because it was an arena. The first big show I did was Nashville Arena in Nashville. And they put the lights on us and we're playing, and 30 feet, there's nobody. There's no chairs because there's barriers. There's like security barriers. And the lights are on us. You guys probably have this happen. It looks like you're in the high beams of like a whole bunch of cop cars or fire trucks. You can't see the audience.
Right.
So I'm like that. And I kind of feel like this is rehearsal. Like I can't interact with anybody. I can't see anybody until the first song ends. And then I'm like, oh, they turned on the fake applause because it sounds fake. It doesn't sound real. And then they turn the lights on and I went, whoa.
That's kind of like Madison Square Garden, no, Roman? That was kind of blinding in there.
Yeah, it was.
In the garden, yeah.
Yeah, and some of the shows we did when they did these, I want to say private, they put us up on a stage and you just can't see anybody because those lights are all shining into the ring.
That was
the worst.
Yeah, it's like you want to kind of see if it's going over.
Yeah.
That's
actually the term we use.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's like I said, you're looking out there and you really can't even hear the people. It's so strange. I don't even know how to
It's
explain
surreal.
Right, yeah.
I really do. That's a common thing. And Don had really good advice about that too. He's like, play to the hot spots. He's like, the people that aren't doing anything, leave them alone. You're not going to convince them.
Very true. Very, very, very true. Like, well, for TV, for us, you're just playing to that hard cam. That's it. You're playing to that hard cam, which is, again, it's different when you're doing a live show, and there's no hard cam. You're playing to every angle. Every angle.
You don't have to
So wait a minute now. So what's that date for Monroe again?
That is July 26th.
Wow.
So it's coming up.
Right around
You
the
should
corner.
take a run up there, Mancini.
I think so.
Yeah.
Let me know.
But first, I'm going to Milford to get a price on the T-shirts.
The shop's in West Haven. I'm from Milford, but the shop's in West Haven. Yeah, that's.
Where's the shop?
West Haven.
Yeah. Do you remember where the Forest Theater used to be? Where 110 crosses the Post Road? Brick Place.
West Haven, yeah.
Yeah, on the New Haven side of West Haven. They tore down the Forest Theater, and we have the biggest, ugliest tan building that you ever saw. And we share it with because we're like a wholesale place. We're not retail. So we have
you're not retail. Oh, okay,
no.
okay.
I mean, we do stuff. So it's like you want to do shirts, I can, we'll work it out. But I just mean we share a building with like a dentist and a liquor store. So as soon as it's dark, it's Grand Theft Auto in the parking lot. I mean, it's totally nuts.
Wow.
All right. I'm gonna have to find out, Chris, what you can do as well, because we just talked about getting some new T-shirts done for us too. So like
I said, I'm wholesale. It's gonna be hard to beat that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll see what we can. I'll chat with you off camera about that one. So
Nice.
definite for sure. We all will. Mario, you likewise. I'll give you Chris's information, and you can
Yeah,
touch base
man.
with him.
Yeah, man. Because I'm having my guy redo the logo because my ex-wife used to do our t-shirts, but
Mhm.
her equipment went. So she's like, and I'm like, I got you. Don't worry about it. But I showed her the logo. She goes, this thing doesn't end.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
yeah,
What do you mean it doesn't
And
end?
it's the name of our wrestling company is Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling, and it's coming through, it's exploding through a brick wall, and
Ah,
all the rocks are around it. And
getting
she's like,
lost.
it doesn't end. There's a problem here. She goes, you don't want the square sublimation, right? I go, no, I hate that. She goes, well, you're gonna have a problem with this thing because it doesn't end. So you have to kind of try to redo it where somebody's going to be able to do this. I like on a
Well, let me take
cutter.
a look at
Right.
it.
So
I've been a graphic artist for 30 years professionally, so I mean, let
Well,
me
it
give it a
does say
whack.
PAPW though, Chris.
What's that?
yeah,
4 letters, PAPW.
PAPW, Paradise Alley Professional
That's what's
Wrestling.
coming through the wall with the
Yeah,
bricks flying.
I
Yeah.
got you.
Well, I'll let them see it then. That's not a problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We'll
Cool.
we'll sort that out. All right, guys. So, Chris, Mario, we'll do that one last part because Mario brought up earlier about the groupies and then the ring rats. Mario, do you want to touch base on that before we close
No,
this one?
I don't
You
because
don't?
I was joking,
All right.
and I
Okay.
realize I am the only single man on this podcast, but my brothers in these screens are married men, and I would not like to talk about that. No,
All right.
it was a
Okay.
joke, Amir.
All
It
right.
was a
Ah,
joke.
Look at him. Look at him. Look at him trying to get me
everybody says
live on the
wrestlers have
air
no class. Come on.
Yeah, that was a joke, bro. No, I'm not
here.
doing that.
All right. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure to have
Yes.
you on.
Thank you.
It's been an eye-opening experience about the world of music, and I'm hopefully that you've
Fantastic.
learned a little bit
It
about
was a
us.
ton of fun, man.
Yes.
It was
Yeah,
a
thank you
ton of
guys so
fun, and
much.
it was a nice break from talking about, the wrestling business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it was really eye opening to, all
Yeah.
the questions that we asked.
yeah,
Thank you.
Nice.
yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
again, yeah, I learned a lot too. I mean, awesome. I'm really psyched to be in your presence. You guys are superstars.
Nah, no way.
Well,
No, but
they're
listen, when we
modest.
come to see you in Monroe, I just want to say that it's going to be a little difficult for me because he's a bit of a scrapper. But if Mario rushes the stage, just know that I got your back, Chris, and I won't let him get on stage with you.
You
Just
know what
saying.
I'll do? I'll print you guys a couple security shirts.
Just throw a double dog at me; it'll stop me.
Ah, that'll stop. That's Don's favorite. He loves corn dogs. That's like,
Oh Lord, good
Darn, man.
stuff.
You got him started. Paul, any closing statements before we go this week?
Just want to thank everybody, Chris especially, obviously you, Mancini, all our fans, and yeah, God bless. Be safe for the 4th. Have a good time, and God bless our troops.
Yeah, yeah. Happy belated 4th because this will be out, and God bless our troops indeed. I will put a link, Chris, to your band in the description of this video if you want to go and check out the album. And of course, remember to go out and check out Dokken. And we want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. As always, keep chasing the power of the truth. This has been Power and Glory, the podcast. Until next time, everybody, God bless you all. God bless you, Paul. God bless you, Mario. God bless you,
God
kids.
bless.
All right.
God bless.
Take care.